Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. 10 ways to share your creativity and get discovered. A new way of operating. First of all, you don't have to be a genius. Think process, not product. Share something small every day. Open up your cabinet and curiosities. Tell good stories. Teach what you know. Don't turn into human spam. Learn to take a punch, sell out, stick around. Thank you. And for artists, the great problem to solve is how to get on self notice. Henry B. Balazek. A new way of operating. Creativity is not a talent, it is a way of operating. Johnsless. When I have the privilege to talk my readers, the common question they ask me and about self promotion. How do I get my stuff out there? How do I get noticed? How do I find an audience? How do you do it? I hate talking about self promotion. Comedian Steve Martin famously does that questions are with advice. Be so good they can't ignore you. If you just focus on getting really good, Martin says people will come to you. I happen to agree. You don't really find an audience for your work, they find you. But it's not enough to be good. In order to be found, you have to be findable. I think there is an easy way of putting your work out there and making it discoverable while you are focused on getting really good and what you do. Almost all of the people I looked up and tried to steal from today, regardless of their profession, have built sharing into their routine. These people aren't smudging and cocktail parties. They are too busy for that. They are cracking away in their studios, their laboratories, on their cubes. And instead of maintaining absolute squarey and hoarding their work, they are open about what they are working on. They are constantly posting builds and pitch of their work, their ideas, and their learning online. Instead of wasting time networking, they are taking advantage of their network by generously sharing their ideas and their knowledge. They often gain an audience they leverage when they did it for fellowship, feedback, and patronage. I wanted to create kind of beginner mutual for this way of operating. So here what I come up with a book for people who hate a very idea self promotion. An alternative, if you will, to self promotion, I am going to try to teach you how to think about your work and a never ending process. How to share your process in a way that attracts people who might be interested in what you do. How to deal with the ups and downs of putting yourself and your work out of in the world. If Still Like an Artist was a book you're selling influence from other people's, the book is about how to influence other by letting them steal from you. Imagine if your next boss didn't have to read your resume because he already reads your blog. Imagine being a student and getting first gig based on a school project you post online. Imagine losing your job but having a social network of people familiar with your work and ready to help you and find a new one. Imagine turning a side project or a hobby into your profession because you had a following there could support you. Or imagine something simpler as satisfying spending of majority of your time, energy and attention, practice and craft, learning a trade or running a business, while also allowing for the possibility that your work might attract a group of people who share your interest. All you have to do show your work. Creating something is a long uncertain process. A maker should show her work. You don't have to be a genius. Find a genius. Give what you have to someone. It may be better than you dare to think. Henry Watson Longfellow. There are a lot of destructive myths about creativity, but one of the most dangerous is the long genius myth. An individual with superhuman talent appears out of nowhere and certain points in history, free of influence or precedent, with a direct connection of God or the muse. When inspiration comes, it strikes like a lightning bolt and light bulb switch on its head, and then it spends the rest of his time toiling away in his studio, shaping this idea into finished masterpieces that he releases into would to great fanfare. If you believe in the long genius myth, creativity is an antisocial act performed by only a few great fingers, mostly dead men with names like Mozart, Insane, and Pichicachu. The rest of us are left to stand around the gawk and awe at their achievements. There is a healthier way of thinking about creativity that the musician brain refers to as scanias under the module. Great ideas are often birthed by a group of creativity individuals, artists, curators, thinkers, theorists, and other trust makers who make up an ecology of talent. If you look back closely at history, many of these people who think as long geniusness are actually part of the whole sense of the people who were supporting each other, looking each other's work, copying each other, and selling ideas and contributing ideas. Skinnier doesn't take away from the achievement of those individuals, it just acknowledges of good work isn't created in a vacuum, and creativity is always in the some sense of collaboration, the result of mind connected to other minds. What I love about the idea of Scanias is that it makes room in the story of creativity for the rest of us, the people who don't consider ourselves genius. Being a valuable part of Scanias is not necessarily about how smart or talented you are, but about what you have to contribute, the ideas you share, the quickly of connection you make, and conversion you start. If we forget about genius and think more about how we can nurture and contribute of scanias, we can adjust our own expectations and expectations the worlds we want to accept us. We can stop asking what other can do for us. Start asking we can do for others. We live in an age where it's greater than ever to join a scanias. The internet is basically a bunch of scanias connected together, differs from physical geography. Blogs, social media site, email group, discussion board, forums, they are all same things. Virtual scans are people go to hang out and talk about the things they care about. There is no bouncer, no gatekeeper, and no barrier. And entertaining this sense, you don't have to be rich, you don't have to be famous, and you don't have to be a fancy resume or degree. People expenses who online everyone an artist resume degree from expensive school online everyone the artist and the curator, the master and appreciate the experts, and the amateur has ability to contribute something. Be an amateur. That's all any of us rare amateurs. We don't live long enough to be anything else. Charlie Chaplin. We are all terrified of being revealed as amateurs, but in fact, today it is the amateur, the enthusiast who pursues her work and spirit of love. In French, the word means lover. Regardless of the potential for fame, money, or career, who often has the advantage over the professional because they have little to lose. Amateurs are willing to try anything and share the result. They take chances, experiments, follows their whims, and sometimes in the process of doing things in an unprofessional way, they make new discoveries. In the beginner mind, there are many possibilities, said Jen Monk Shangjuri Suzuki. In their expert's mind, there are few. Amateurs are not afraid to make mistake or look ridiculous in public. They are in love, no, so they don't hesitate to do work there others and think of the silly or just plain stupid. The stupidness possible creative act is still a creative act, writes Clay Shirley in the book Cognitive Self-Plus. On the spectrum of creative works, the difference between the mediocre and their good in vast. Mediocrity is, however, still on the spectrum. You can move from mediocre to good and increment. The real gap is between doing nothing and doing something. Amateurs know the contributing something is better than contribution nothing. Amateurs might lack formal training, but they are all lifelong learners and they make a point of learning in the open so that others can learn from their failure and success. Writers David Foster all said that through good notification was a chance to watch somebody reasonable but also reasonably average pay for closer attention and think at far more length about all sorts the different stuff that most of the life chance in our daily lives. Amateurs fit the same bill. They are just regular people who get obsessed by something and spend a ton of time thinking aloud about it. Sometimes amateurs have more to teach us than experts. Look the pros and struggling put an amateurs in. Get out of your leg. Defy perfection, love something more. It often happens that two schoolboys can solve difficulties in their work for one another better than the master can, wrote author C.S. Lewis. The fellow pupil can help more than the master because they know less. The difficulty we want him to explain in one he has recently met. The expert made it so long ago he has forgotten. Watching amateurs at work can also inspire us. The achieve fortune burns summer. The way terrible I wanted to get up and be terrible with them. Raw enthusiasm of consciousness. The world of changing at such a rapid rate that it's turning us all into amateurs. Even for professionals, the best way of flourish to retain an amateur spirit and embrace uncertainty and the unknown. When Radiohead frontman Tom Ork was asked what they thought his greatest strength was, that he answered that I don't know what I am doing. Like one of his heroes, Tom Waits, whenever you feels like a snow writing is getting too comfortable or stale, he pick up an instrument he doesn't know how to play and try to write with it. There's it yet another trait of amateurs. They all use whatever tools they can get their hand on, try to get their ideas into the world. I'm just an artist, man, said John Lennon. Give me a tuba and I will get have something out of it. The best way get started on path to sharing your work is to thinking about what you want to learn and make commitment to learning it is front of others. Find the scanias, pay attention and who others are sharing and share a talking note, starting taking note and what they are not sharing. Be on the lookout for voids that can be filled with your own efforts. no matter how bad they are at first. Don't worry for now about how you will make money or a career of it. Forget about being an expert or a professional and wear your enthusiasm, your heart, your love on your sleeves. Share what you love, and the people who love the same things will find you. You can't find your voice if you don't use it. Find your voice, shout it from the rooftop, and keep doing it until the people that are looking for you find you. Dan Harmon. We are always being told find your voice. When I was younger, I never really knew what this meant. I used to worry a lot of voice wondering if I had my own, but now I realize that only way to find your voice is to use it. It's hardwired, built into you. Talk about the things you love. Your voice will follow. When the late film Crick Grover Edwards went through several intense surgeries to treat his cancer, and he lost the ability to speak. He lost his voice physically and permanently. Here we a man who made a great deal of his living by speaking on television, and he couldn't say a word in order to communicate with his friend and family. He don't have a either scribble response and on the pad on paper or type of his Mac and have a awkward computer voice read and it out loud of through his laptop speaker. Cut off from everyday conversation, he poured himself into twenty, posting on Facebook and blogging and rogersbird.com. He repeated out posts at breakneck speed, writing thousands of words and about everything he could think of: his boyhood on Urbana, Illinois, his love for steak and snacks, his conversation with famous movie actors, his thoughts with invade death. Hundreds and hundreds of people would respond his post. He would respond back. Blogging became his primary way of communicating with the world. On the web, my real voice finds expression. He wrote like a question for a new tool. What was it made for? How are you others using it? Why use can I find for it? Ebert knew his time on his planet was short. He wanted to share everything he could in the time he had left. Mr. Ebert wrote as if it were a matter of life and death, wrote journalist James Messing, because it is Ebert was blogging, because he had to blog, because it was matter of being spread here or not being heard, a matter of exciting or not exciting. It sounds a little extreme, but it is day and age. If your work isn't outlined or online, it doesn't exist. We all have the opportunity use our voice to have our say, but so many of us are watching it. If you want people to know about what you do and the things you care about, you have to share. Read obituaries. Remembering that I will be dead soon is the most important tool I have ever encountered to help make the big choice in life, because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear, all embarrassment, all failure, these things just fall away the face to death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already nagged. Steve Jobs. If all this sounds scary or like a lot of work, consider this. One day you will be dead. Most of the prefer and ignore the most basic fact of life, but thinking about our inevitability and has a way putting everything into perspective. We have all read stories and near death experiences changing people's lives. When Gregory Lucas was a teenager, he almost died in a car accident. He decided every day, now in an extra day, decided every himself to film and went to one direct Star Wars. One way Cogney lead singer that Flaming Lips was 16 when he was held up while working on Long John Silver's. I realized I was going to die, he says, and when that gets into your mind, it usually changes me. I thought I am not going to sit here and wait for things and happen. I am going to make them happen. And that is, if people think I am an editor, I am an idiot. I don't care. Jim Kearns is his books will learn nothing. Says that getting stars in the third was the best thing to ever happen to him. For a whole year he was happy and life was good. You'd like to think that nearly getting killed would be permanently life altering experience. Cartier writes, but the illumination didn't last. Eventually he was back to the busy work of living. The writer Gregory Saunders, speaking of his own near death experience, said, "For 3 and 4 days after that, it was the most beautiful world to have gotten back in it, you know? And I thought if you could walk around like that all the time to really have an awareness that it's actually going to end. That's the trick. Unfortunately, I am a coward. As much as I would like to existential euphoria that comes with it, I don't really want to a near death experience and want to stay safe and stay away from death as much as I can. I certainly don't want to turn and quote invite any closer than it needs to be, but I do somehow want to remember that it's coming for me. It's for this reason that I read two obituaries every morning. Obituaries are like near death experience for cowards. Reading them is a way for me think about death while also keeping it at arm's length. Obituaries aren't really about death, they are about life. The sum of every obituary is how heroic people are and how Nobel writes artist Maria Kalman. Reading about people who are dead now and did things with their lives makes me want to get up and do something decent with mine. Thinking about death, about mourning makes me want to live. Try it. Start reading the obituaries every morning. Take inspiration from the people who marched through life before you. They all started out as amateurs. They got where they were going by making do with they were given, and the gods themselves put themselves out through and follow their example. A near death experience for the rest of us.